Greetings all, this is Hairy Neck.
This is Justin.
Welcome back to the Hangar Bay, our weekly show where we talk about your submitted X-Wing lists.
Yeah, this week with the Resistance.
Back to the Resistance again. We're nearly through every ship with the new factions.
So we're going to have to wait for Wave 4 for another ship.
Yep. We'll go back and revisit things. We definitely want to talk about T-70s.
Resistance Bomber.
Oh, yes, absolutely, because that went down in points. And yeah. But this week, we're going to talk about the Falcon. I put the vote to the patrons, and it smashed the A-Wing.
Overwhelmingly.
Very overwhelmingly. I mean, the A-Wing's very interesting. From the little hair of metadata we have post-points change, we're seeing a little bit of Resistance A-Wings being flown, but no real concrete data on that just yet. But this week we're going to talk about the Falcon, which is a slight downgrade of the YT-1300, the Rebel version, custom scavenge, whichever one. Scavenged is the Resistance one, modified is the Rebellion one. I don't know. It's a slightly worse version.
And then there's the Lando modification and the Ray modification.
Yeah, that's right. You bypass the compressor, you repass the compressor. I don't know, man. Yeah. But anyway, this is like halfway between the power level of the Scum and the Rebellion one.
That's a good way of putting it.
Yeah, your rotate actions are red. There's a bit less health overall. And it's a fraction cheaper as well. I know they brought down the Rebellion. I'll put the costs on the screen so you guys can see what I mean, but it is still a bit cheaper, which is very important when you're on a faction with only 4 ships because you need as many options as you can for list building. Which is really good because having a look at these submitted lists, you can actually do quite a lot with it.
Yeah.
A surprising amount. I will say one big limitation it has is its cheapest platform, the Resistance Sympathizer, is 68 points, so you can't just field 3 of them.
Yeah, I think there's a reason behind that, though.
I had a look at all the different options. Yeah. Things you can field 3 of, like 3 Bounty Hunters on the Fire Spray. I mean, comparing those directly, the Falcon has 1 more health, but it only has 1 agility. Also, the Fire Spray has reinforced. So I actually look at those things and think, I think you probably could just chuck in 3 Resistance Sympathizers. I don't think it'd be a broken list. I mean, yes, obviously the elephant in the room right now, the triple Upsilon. Now, the Upsilon only has 1 agility. The dial is trash on the Upsilon, but it has 4 red dice, and that's what makes it really powerful. So if you have 3 Falcons, you can shoot backwards and joust. I think 3 Falcons would fare well against 3 Upsilon.
Yeah.
But I think, the Upsilon problem is the dice. And it also has reinforce and 12 health and all that kind of stuff, so... but yes, I think in general, FFG do want to try to avoid just having, multiple spam out the cheapest thing. So maybe the Epsilon will be addressed at some stage. But in the time being, the Resistance Sympathizer is not really that favoured. Indeed, we're looking mainly at the named pilots.
Yeah, I think, though, with the Resistance Sympathizer, you're still wanting to put crew members on it. You don't normally just run it by itself.
Oh, yeah. There is value to be had over crew members. Having crew members over certain pilots, gunners over certain pilots. It's funny, Rey's ability in her pilot is arguably better in her gunner because things don't have to be in the forward arc. But the pilot has 2 force instead of 1, which is really good because you get to use the ability twice. A lot of really, really cool things. I mean, we'll talk about the pilots and all the crew options when we get to it. Let's move on to a patron-submitted list from Eric Cologne because a lot of patrons, after I talked about the list that I flew with Han and Poe, suddenly said, hey, this is the version of Han and Poe that I fly. Actually, a lot of YouTube commenters as well.
Yeah.
So, Eric, you're flying Han this time with Heroic, Rose Tico, Chewbacca, Finn, Hull Upgrade, and Rey's Millennium Falcon.
And Poe has Heroic, BB Astromech, Integrated S-Foils, and Prime Thrusters.
Yes, so the key difference here is there's no Rey or 3PO on Han.
Yeah.
Finn, Rose, and Chewbacca instead. Chewbacca's... I want to like Chewbacca. I don't think this is the list for Chewbacca.
I don't think if you're going to a tournament, Chewbacca is what you want.
Not necessarily. So what I like to look at with these cards is the floor. And the floor on Chewbacca is nothing happens. Ever. Because you don't get that damage card in, you don't get an opportunity to use him. Ideally, you're going to want to get a hit on to get that benefit, but is that payoff really good enough?
Yeah, like either A, Han's getting shot, or B, possibly even worse, Poe's getting shot.
Yeah. Also, Finn and Rose is powering out target locks. Heroic is giving you rerolls in really bad situations. You're already boosting and S-looping to great effect with Rey's Millennium Falcon. I don't think Chewie is a big enough payoff.
I honestly would put C-3PO instead.
Yeah, C-3PO is one less point or one more point. He's one more point.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. You have a 6-point bid. Now you only have a 5-point bid. The difference between 6 and 5 points. Honestly, with these guys, I want roughly a 10-point bid. What I will say, in terms of the bid, I would absolutely 100% cut hull upgrade. I don't think it has a place here.
Yep.
I'm not a fan of using hull and shit upgrade to soak up points in general. It doesn't matter if you don't need the bid, but you absolutely want to bid with 2 initiative 6s. Going with your initial list, you're at 196. You cut hull upgrade, you're at a 9-point bid. That is within the acceptable zone of bids that I'd want with this. I mean, look, honestly, if it was difference between 197 and 200, I'd consider it. But considering you're so close to that 10-point bid, that sweet spot, nah. The problem is hull upgrade prolongs the game if you're getting attacked. A bid prevents you from getting attacked at all. And that's just the key thing. That's the most important thing I'm looking at here.
Yeah.
Because Han's initiative 6, he has red boosts that he can use while stressed. He can use shenanigans to get... He can essentially arc dodge as a large base ship if need be. So hull upgrade, I don't see a home for here. I know I'm being harsh, but I know some people are just so adamantly against taking a bid. But take a bid is my response to that. Certainly on this list anyway.
Also, if you really want to, hard point, get a cannon on. 0 points.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I think the bid's more important, but you can do that. What were we talking about? You'd have a 2-point bid if you put heavy laser cannon on Poe.
I reckon just put jamming beam on.
Oh, yes. Yeah, the free cannon. Yeah, we always forget this. Now, I will say there is value in not taking something that you're probably never going to use anyway. Yeah. I'm trying to remember. I think it was Paul Heaver spoke about this in an article when the Kirax fighter in version 1 made all the 1-point upgrades free. There was the S-thread traces, the attack that gave you a bunch of target locks if you hit and no damage. Yeah. His advice, and I completely agree with this, is don't take it. I know it's free, but don't tempt yourself to make bad decisions.
Oh, yeah.
And I actually think there is a lot of value in that. It's very tempting for me to say, as somebody who analyses things purely from a mathematical point of view, from a gameplay point of view, just leaving off jamming beam is actually not a bad idea.
However, with the integrated S-foils, if they're closed, you're rolling 1 less attack dice with a primary attack.
That's a good point. Yeah, so there might be situations where you just want to fire off a jamming beam because firing a 2 red dice at range 3 is bad.
Yeah.
Firing a jamming beam is not much better. But
it's still an extra die, though.
It might matter. It might lock out one of your opponent's offensive mods against Han or Poe. Yeah, I can see an argument for it. Honestly, I just leave it off, but yeah. Also, BB Astromech has been used here to have a discounted way of getting that effect on Poe, which isn't bad. It's a very sensible way of approaching this because Poe already has boosts. I like BB-8 too much. Yeah. But then again, I like bids too, so yeah. I mean, the key thing here is, yes, you've taken Finn and Rose and Chewbacca over Rey and C-3PO, and that is a little bit more of a push in points. And I honestly just prefer Rey and C-3PO just for that power and consistency. You get to convert so many results of one action, and that's why I like to fly it like that. Yeah, for sure. But it's a good idea nonetheless. I like the idea of running heroic on both of these guys. I like Debris Gambit on Poe, but there's absolutely an argument for Heroic instead. Debris Gambit, so you can power out Focus Evade in the right situations. But yeah, I'd love to hear pro's thoughts on that, because I honestly don't know what the right answer for tournament play is. Debris Gambit or Heroic. Don't know. I'm not going to comment on that any further. I have not played it at any major tournaments. Let us move along to some YouTube submitted lists. This one by Sam McPhee.
This is Han Solo with Tactical Officer, C-3PO and Rey. Neenum with Heroic, BB-8 and Integrated S-Foils. And Talasan Lintra with Heroic and Predator.
Yes, I'm finding these A-Wing builds very interesting. What kind of generic upgrades we put on them?
I can't believe that you can actually fit an extra ship by taking off Poe.
Poe ain't cheap. Nia Nam is 13 points cheaper than Poe. Poe is not cheap, but Poe
does so much. I understand
Initiative 6, push the limits. You just can't ignore how powerful that effect is, and how great it is that we don't have it on every platform anymore.
But is it better than having 2 ships? That's the question I'd like to know.
From an arc dodging tournament spike point of view, I mean, I look at the list that won the Australian Nationals that ran like Sunterfell and a 15-point bid. That kind of player prefers Poe, but I know what you mean. I know what you mean. It's the kind of player that just arc dodges religiously and just flat out denies you damage. It's the kind of player I want to be. But having more ships is probably more consistent. Maybe for your mid-tier kind of player, maybe for your more casual player, it's going to get your results with better ease. I do admit that. I like Taliesin Lintra too. I prefer Lily Lampor, the ability to overshoot and fire with extra dice and all that kind of stuff. But Taliesin Lintra as a support role, giving your friendlies extra green dice when an enemy ship fires at them when it is in your bullseye firing arc. It's a weird interaction.
God, it's a mouthful, isn't it?
It is a bit of a mouthful, but it's decent. It makes perfect sense when you're playing the game. Just trying to explain it verbally on a YouTube video, not always the most easy thing.
No.
Also,
Also, you can't do that because of the points.
No. Taliesin Lintra is... What do we got here?
3 points.
3 points cheaper than Lulu Lampor. And I think Lulu Lampor is probably better and spikier for that reason.
Is there any other T70s at Initiative 5 that we could look at?
Oh, Nia Num's awesome, though.
I know.
Elo Atsi at 1 more point. Actually, Elo Atsi is totally worth looking at in this list as well. Because you can just do white Talon rolls for days. It's very powerful. Pretty decent with BB-8 as well. I honestly look at those. I really like Nia Num with the red linked barrel roll that S-Foils gives you as well. That's really dirty. I actually didn't think about that when he was revealed.
No.
It's the whole thing with like Sabine on the attack shuttle. Suddenly that old ability is made more relevant because of linked actions. I think there's absolutely a case to take Elo Atsi if you want, but flavour to match Sam if you prefer Nia and you prefer Nia, and that's cool. I do like the build on Han Solo. This is like the cream, just the gooey centre of all the Han Solo stuff. I mean, I like, Trick Shot and Ray's Millennium Falcon as well, but those are absolutely the upgrades that are first on the chopping block if you want to cut it down to a sub-100 point build, which you've done here. TAC Officer, cool. I don't think it's required. Actually, I will say it's way more required when you don't have Ray's Millennium Falcon, because you are suddenly very conscious of your red actions.
That stress,
I mean, your boost is still red, which kind of sucks, but you can't really get around that without spending a lot of points on either engine upgrades on Ray's Millennium Falcon, which you can't do with 3 ships. These are the compromises one must make. But you get 3 decent platforms on the board. The question is, are they too stripped back to be better than Han Poe or Ray Poe? I think it depends on the player personally. I think the more dedicated arc dodgers want to fly the higher initiative ships. That's my final thoughts on that. But I like the approach. I think, honestly, in terms of meta play, we're going to see a little bit of both. That's what I'm hoping. Now that all like the Imperial stuff's been made fairer. Hopefully we see some stuff like this actually make it in tournaments.
That'd be nice.
Did the New Zealand Nationals the other day. There were no resistance in first order.
Oh, no.
At all. Made me very sad. Anyway, let's move right on to this list by Nathaniel Pointer.
Yeah.
With Ray, Taliesin and Poe.
Now, Ray, this time, nothing.
Absolutely. Taliesin with Heroic Trick Shot.
And Poe Dameron with R4 Integrated Airfoils, Ferrosphere Paint, and the Black One title.
Yes. Now, I get the impression that Nathaniel is a very sensible person, because these are all very sensible upgrades. There's nothing flashy here at all. That's not a bad thing.
No.
We've gone Heroic and Trick Shot. Yes, sensible, very efficient.
Yep.
Poe Dameron, no BBs, nope, just make it more blue maneuvers.
Yeah.
Ferrosphere Paint, yes, no, you don't get to target lock me. Blah. I mean, Black One is a bit spicy, but it's sort of using up the 2 points. I'd probably go for like upgrades elsewhere than Black One, like Heroic on Poe, or Debris Gambit on Poe, and put another point in.
Could you choose something?
Bid goes away if you do that though.
What do you change? Can you change something from Ferrosphere Paint to something else?
Not especially effectively. No. Ferrosphere Paint, probably the most efficient, reasonable thing you're looking at. Pattern Analyzer for 1 less point. There's a case to take Pattern Analyzer on Poe.
I still think I'd prefer Ferrosphere Paint.
For sure. Also, this was submitted before the points changed, so it was 1 point cheaper. Trick Shot was 1 point instead of 2 points. I don't think it really changes much here.
No.
A 4 point bid as opposed to a 5 point bid. I do prefer a 5 point bid. It is very relevant with all the Initiative 5s floating around here.
Yeah.
So maybe you want to consider changing Trick Shot to something else, but nothing else really jumps off the page at me. Like, Marksmanship is interesting, but the A-Wing doesn't have a lot of red dice, so sort of trying to capitalise off that doesn't feel great. I think Trick Shot is pretty fair enough.
Yeah.
But the main reason I want to bring this up is because we have Ray with nothing, and I look at that 80 points and think to myself, it's actually pretty decent.
Yeah, like, you're just there going, well, you don't need that much more, really.
No, I mean, it'd be great if there was some more effectiveness. If there was like engine upgrades or the title to make those boosts and the maneuverability a bit better.
Yeah.
But then again, it would be like pushing 90 points. For 80 points, it's pretty good.
Yeah.
It's pretty good.
Maybe have a gunner or something like that. But again, you're still looking at 90 points.
Yeah, it's not something you can fit in this list. And then you've got Ray, Poe, and Taliesin Lintra.
Yeah.
Okay, that's cool. I mean, the sort of most hyped thing we're seeing right now is Ray and Poe with nothing else, and the stack up Ray with like Finn or all that kind of crazy stuff. I'm seeing some people put Han on Ray to stack up a bunch of evade tokens, which is very silly. Yes, sensible and efficient. Interesting idea. Ray with nothing. I find that very interesting. I don't know. I find it interesting. Nathaniel, comments, how's it go?
Yeah.
Very cool. Let's move on to the last list we have for today with Martin Golay. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly.
Yeah.
This time with Chewbacca.
So the Fortress is Finchdello with Trajectory Simulator, Advanced Optics, Perceptive Copilot, Veteran Tail Gunner, Seismic Charges, Proton Bombs, and Shield Upgrade.
Chewie has Heroic Cluster Missiles, Perceptive Copilot, and Shield Upgrade. So, I wanted to make sure we had at least one list with Chewie included in this video. And this is an interesting way of using him. Finchdello actually makes a pretty interesting suicide bomber. I don't know if I really want to suicide bomb something that's 106 points.
Well, you've still got the Trajectory Simulator there, so you can throw it forward.
And also Finch can just drop it right next to him as well.
Yeah.
He can't do the silly Rose Tico things of flying and then dropping it next to him afterwards. I mean, Rose Tico does it with less information, but at the same time, you get to drop 2 bombs per turn and change them, play with the timing and all that kind of stuff. And
I'd like to change this shield upgrade to a Blade of Plating.
I would too. Also, this was submitted before the points change. It used to be 200 points. So now we have 4 points to spare. Let's change both of those shield upgrades to a Blade of Plating.
That'd feel good.
The main reason I want to do that, apart from the fact that, yes, you can put bombs wherever you want and then just roll over them. It also matters with Chewie's ability. Shield Upgrade actively it prolongs Chewie from being able to do that ability, possibly to the point where he'll get taken off the board first, which sucks. Ablative Plating gives you the option to take the damage, unlike Shield Upgrade. Shield Upgrade is, one more point of damage. You can't purposefully let the damage through. You can with Ablative Plating, which gives it a bit more flexibility. It's also so relevant with all these bombs, Trajectory Simulator, Finch-Dallow. And I think, just Ablative Plating is the one thing I would change. I think that's doing what you want it to do just a little bit better.
Yeah.
And it's very, very interesting. This is the meme list for this week. I think we can agree. This is not something that I'd be keen to take to like major tournaments, but it'd be really fun to take it to like a local gaming tournament and just get people with this kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's fun. You can do multiple tapping with the veteran turret gunner and drop bombs in the most annoying of places, and hopefully activate Chewie once a tournament.
Yeah.
It's going to happen sometimes. Yeah, it's very interesting. It looks like a lot of fun.
Yeah, definitely.
One of these sort of alternate win condition lists. I always think they're fun, and if you can pull it off, all power to you.
Definitely.
Indeed. All right, next week we're back over to the First Order. It's either going to be Upsilon or TIE FOs. We'll wait and see what the patrons think of that. Feel free to submit some more lists. Please be aware, because of the points change, I'm making a point of trying to avoid featuring lists that don't work in the current point structure. Although last week with the Fire Spray, I did do that and talk about how we can change them because of the choices I had. I think at least for the next Imperial and Rebel video, I will still do some of those lists. But after that, yes. New point structure, new stuff. So need some more submissions down there, guys.
Please.
Absolutely. In the meantime, don't forget to like and subscribe. Like us on Facebook. Follow us on Twitter and Reddit. Please go ahead and like and subscribe to our new side channel where we're talking about all of the cool non-X-Ring related stuff. Legion, we're about to make a video on Outer Rim, so go over there and stay tuned for that. Also, please consider supporting the Patreon. It is literally the reason why we can do this week in, week out and make a whole heap of videos. It is making way more revenue than the ads on YouTube, which are not great. Let's not get into that. In the meantime, we'll catch you in the next video.
Bye.